Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking to you about the brand new RAS 47, the American-made stamped receiver AK from Century Arms. I'm going to be showing you a little bit about the different features it has, the specs, an in-depth look at all the internals of it, as well as some of my accuracy testing. So I hope you stick with me and hope you enjoy the video. And as I'm sure some of you have already noticed, I have swapped out a couple parts on it, so I'll go ahead and give you the details on those as well, kind of my thinking behind doing so. And I'll show you what the original parts looked like as well. So first, it comes with two of the Magpul PMag magazines. Obviously these are the first generation, so the non-steel reinforced ones, since those aren't out yet. It also comes with a fairly nice manual. I mean, it's really just kind of a standard manual. Kind of goes over the cleaning, disassembly, assembly, and just the different features of the rifle, how to adjust sights and all that fun stuff. So it's a standard manual, but I've seen worse, so they didn't do too bad of a job on this guy. And then also it comes with a chamber flag, so if you have a range where you have to have a chamber flag when you're away from your rifle, as I do, then this will come in handy for you. So this has already gotten some use. So for some of the specs for you, it's chambered in 7.62 by 39. The overall length is 37.25 inches. The barrel itself is 16.5 inches with a 1 in 10 twist rate and 14 by 1 left-handed threads. The weight is right around 7.5 pounds. At least as it comes stock. It's going to be a little heavier with the stuff that I've added to it. And it is completely black nitrided coating, outside, inside, and including the barrel, so it is not a chrome-lined barrel. It has a oversized magazine release, as I'll show you later, and it has the standard AK-47 sighting system, so they went away from the adjustable rear sight for windage and went back to the traditional front sight for AKs. And it does have a scope rail mounted on the other side, as I'll show you, and the standard safety has a bolt lock open notch, which is nice if you again have a range where you have to walk around with the bolt open, as I do as well. So I'll go ahead and just give you a quick walkthrough of all the externals of the rifle, and then we'll dig in deeper. So first I'm going to talk to you guys about the buttstock. As you can see, there's no spot in the back for you to be able to put a cleaning kit in there. So if you're looking for a place to store a cleaning kit, you're going to have to figure something else out. It does have a little sling swivel down here, which is a nice little feature. And at least as far as my rifle goes, the wood furniture is actually in really nice condition. I was really pleasantly surprised to see just how nice it is. I've kind of scuffed it up a little bit, as you might be able to notice in some places, but it came perfectly pristine. I've heard that if you get the C39 V2s, they're supposed to have a little bit nicer of a stock, but I have no issues with this one. And then also, this is the standard Warsaw length buttstock, so if you're wanting something a little longer, you can either swap it out or put like a little recoil pad just to give you a little bit more of a length of pull. But it works just fine for me. Now, one thing that I like that Century did, as opposed to the original C39, was they changed the way the furniture attaches. So instead of having the tang on both the top and the bottom, you just have the tang up top here. So it's going to fit a lot more of the aftermarket furniture that's available for AKs. So I definitely appreciate that little change that they did, because I'll probably end up swapping these out myself, probably for the Magpul stuff once they come out. So moving forward, you see here it's got a different pistol grip. It's an improvement over the traditional peg grip that you see on a lot of AK-47s, which for me does not feel my hand at all and makes it really uncomfortable. So for this, the finger cutouts just happen to fit perfectly for my hand, so I really, really like this grip. In the past, I've put Magpul grips on my AKs, and I'm definitely not in any hurry to do it with this one. I may end up swapping it out in the future, but as far as grips that come with a gun, this one is more than enough for me right now. And then you'll see also here, it does come with the scope rail, as I mentioned earlier. They say that it is concentric with the rifle, so you don't have to worry about it being mounted in properly, so it's going to fit nicely and make zeroing whatever optic you put on it a lot easier. And then down here, as I mentioned, it does have the extended and oversized magazine release, which in my experience greatly assists in the magazine change process, especially if you're doing like tactical reloads where you got to have two magazines in your hand at the same time. It just really helps give at least my thumb access to that, and helps me swap out those magazines a lot easier. Century went away from the Tapco G2 trigger as they've used in the past and went to a proprietary Century trigger on this one. It's very similar to the G2 trigger in my approximation, but it seems to work really, really nicely. It's better than like my Arsenal. The trigger that comes with that is terrible, so I end up swapping that out with a Tapco. But this one, I don't really see any need to swap it out immediately, although once Geisley comes out with their triggers, I'll probably swap it out for one of those. The pull on it isn't bad. So I'll go ahead and show it to you guys here. There's definitely a very clear wall. There's a short take up and then a very clearly defined wall, and then it doesn't take a whole lot of effort past that to pull the trigger. And then the reset on it isn't the best. As you can see, you have to come out quite a bit, and then you have to take up again to get back to the wall. So some improvement could be made there if you want to polish it up a little bit. I'm sure you could do that, but again, as far as what comes with an AK, this trigger is perfectly fine. As you can see here, I swapped it out for the Krebs Custom safety just because I really like the ability to flick the safety off and on with my finger, especially on a full-sized AK-47. It's a little much for me to be able to maintain firing grip and be able to actuate the safety. So having this little latch right here makes it infinitely easier for me to turn on and off the safety. But the safety that it comes with isn't terrible. It's just, a very standard safety, except for the fact that it does come with a little cutout notch, which is nice. Again, if you have a range where you have to walk around with the bolt locked open, this will allow you to do that. The Krebs one dropped in very easily. It is the one designed specifically for stamped receivers, and the little notch in it is in the exact same spot, so it fits nicely into the little recess for when the safety is in the fire position. So a nice safety. For my own uses, I wanted to swap it out, but this is the one that it comes with. So staying with the receiver here, you can see that it does have the little dimples on both sides to kind of help secure the magazines, so that's an improvement over, say, like a Wasser 10. So if mag wobble's an issue for you, it definitely does come with that. And now the bolt carrier is phosphate coated, which is definitely going to help with corrosion. So it's not a chromed covered bolt carrier group. So all the way up until where the tip of the piston really starts is all phosphate coated. So again, that's a nice little feature. And then when I put out my first video, a lot of people were asking about the rivets. I don't know if you can really see there, but all of them seem to be perfectly placed. They all have the nice little half moon shape to them, or excuse me, half dome shape to them. I don't see any indentations where you can tell that they've been pressed in too tightly. The little dark spots is just where oil is kind of leaking out, and I don't see any gaps where it's obvious that they didn't press them in all the way. So the rivets, they did a really nice job. So again, for a stamped AK, especially in this price range, the quality control seems to be excellent. And then moving forward, you can see, again, as I mentioned earlier, that they went back to the traditional rear sight, so you no longer can adjust the rear sight for windage, but I prefer it this way. I don't have to worry about it falling off, as I know is happening on a lot of Century C39s, and then you can adjust for elevation just like you can on a normal traditional AK-47. Now, still continuing on forward, as you can see, I've swapped out the regular gas tube with the Ultimac gas tube. I really like having the ability to co-witness. Here I have the primary arms advanced micro dot. I've had great luck with these so far. I also have one mounted on my AR. I've been in below freezing temperatures, obviously above freezing temperatures, in the wet, the rain, the snow, and I just haven't had a chance to kill them yet. So, and then also, even with the heat coming out of the gas tube, I haven't had any issues with the dot disappearing or breaking on me. I have done some significant shooting. I haven't really done mag dump after mag dump, but it's definitely gotten hot, and the dot seems to be taking it just fine. And then I have a little Viking Tactics flashlight mount with a little Streamlight flashlight mounted down there, and again, it serves the purposes that I need it to. and it stays low enough that it doesn't obscure my sight picture at all. It went in fairly easily, but I definitely did have to sand down the inside of my handguard, and even then I was trying to force it a little too much, so you might be able to see that little crack running down the middle there. I'm not super bothered about it. I'll probably end up swapping the handguards and the furniture out anyway, and it's not so bad that I notice it with my hands at all, but just to let you guys know before you start pounding it on there with a hammer, probably default on the side of sanding it a little bit more. But it's worked out great. It does have the lower 1/3 co-witness with my iron sights, and has really significantly improved my grouping ability with it, as I'll show you in a little bit. And then just to show you what the gas tube it comes with looks like, it is a vented gas tube, which is why I have the vented Ultimac. But again, the wood is in really nice shape, really clean, and it has a really nice finish on it. So this is what it comes with, and it looks really nice. If you like the look of wood furniture on an AK, like I said, this is really nice looking wood furniture, and as you can also see on the lower handguard, it looks really nice as well. So can't really go wrong with just keeping it standard, but I'm not a purist, so I don't mind updating and upgrading my AK-47. So as we approach the gas block, this is where a lot of the critiques that I've been hearing about the RAS-47 come into play. You'll notice it is not a 90-degree gas block, so if that's an issue for you, just be aware that this is, again, not a 90-degree gas block. I haven't had any issues with it. Reliability speaking wise, it's been perfect. And then my biggest complaint is that it does not have the slotting for a cleaning rod, so I'll probably end up having to find out a way to mount a cleaning rod externally, probably one that breaks down, either just taping it to the stock that I have already or getting one with a little storage compartment to put it. But again, there is no allocations for a cleaning rod, so if that's a problem for you, just again be aware of it. It wasn't a deal breaker for me, obviously, but just something to be aware of. And then you do, on this other side here, have the little sling attachment forward here mounted to the gas block. So if you're looking for any of the aftermarket handguards that go further, I know like the Troy or even one of the Magpul ones that's coming out, you'll either have to remove this or get one that has a little slot cut out already for this. And then you'll notice the machining on all these parts is really nice as well. So there's no crazy like tool marks, and it's not very it's very well put together. So whether it be the front post or the gas block or anything else, the quality on it's exceptional, again, especially for this price range, about $6.25. So I'm very pleased with all that quality. And then moving up here to the front post, again, it has the traditional AK front post, so you can adjust for windage on the sides here, and then elevation, it does rotate up and down. One of the problems that I've noticed with this one is the front post is extremely loose in there. So I noticed when I was zeroing it originally with just the irons, it was kind of going down on its own under recoil. At this point, with about 800 rounds through it, it's maybe gone down about half a turn, but it not terrible, but just again something to be aware of. Some people have had issues with this, as I've read, some people haven't, so just something to look out for. And then it comes with the traditional slant brake on it, but again it has the 14x1 left-hand threads, so most of your typical AK muzzle devices will fit on this just fine. And there is a little bit of a gap here with the slant brake, but it hasn't been an issue for me. The slant brake works okay, but I'll probably end up changing that out as well. So let's go ahead and break this thing open. It breaks down like any regular AK. Got to push it on the recoil spring and your dust cover comes off. You'll notice that the dust cover is not ridged or dimpled like I know some of the Bulgarian AKs are. It's just nice and flat like that. Again, black nitrated coating. All the internals, all the springs and everything on the inside are Wolf brand springs, so again made in America. From my understanding, Wolf is supposed to be a really nice manufacturer of springs, so you get those again for a really reasonable price. Recoil spring, very standard recoil spring, and then again the bolt carrier itself, sorry about that, the bolt carrier itself is a phosphate coating on it. So it's still a little bit dirty. I have about 800, 700, 800 rounds since I cleaned it. I'll probably go ahead and clean it after this filming. I know that AKs can go a lot longer without cleaning, but I just like to treat my weapons nicely in the hopes that they'll return the favor to me. So I'll go ahead and grab my flashlight here. Just FYI, it's a ThruNite TN12 flashlight. It's been my EDC flashlight for a while now, and I really, really like it. But go ahead and show you here what the internals look like. You'll notice I left the original shepherd's hook in there. I did buy the Krebs custom shepherd's hook, or the retaining plate, to replace it. But I found that as far as shepherd's hooks go, this is probably the best design I've seen in an AK. So I ended up not using this, so I'll probably put it in my arsenal once that comes back from Arsenal, which, just FYI for you guys, my Arsenal was working perfectly fine, but when I got it, it had a pretty severely canted front post, so I ended up sending it back. To me, it's kind of unacceptable to pay, $1,100–1,200 for AK, which it was a SLR 107, and to have it have a canted front post was pretty ridiculous. But their customer service was great, and they took it back really without any questions asked. So I'll let you guys know when that comes back. But you'll notice on the inside it has a double hook trigger, so if you're looking for an aftermarket trigger, you'll probably want to get a double hook trigger. And then something I've heard some people criticize, or at least say they didn't like about it, you'll see that the trigger spring is not one of the coiled springs like you see on traditional AK-47s. This one is just a simple straight spring. In fact, let me go grab one of my other AKs just to show you, kind of compare and contrast what it looks like in there. So give me a second. So I have here my Century M92 PAP AK pistol with my little kind of quick, cheap spray paint multicam job. But I'll go ahead and show you, if I can, what the trigger spring looks like in here. So if you look down in there, you can see that it has the traditional coiled spring wrapped around the whole trigger assembly, and that's what you normally see on an AK. So some people were disappointed to not see that on the RAS 47 here. It's not an issue for me, but kind of something to be aware of if you're a purist. This might not be the perfect gun for you unless you feel like swapping it out after the fact. But again, this has been functioning just fine for me through a total of around 800 rounds. So I don't see any need to keep the coiled spring if this one works just fine. So you'll notice on this one, I haven't had to sand down the rails at all. When it came, it actually was really smooth in the bolt carrier, or the bolt carrier ran really smooth in the receiver. So what I've normally done in the past is, I can maybe again show you on my little PAP here, but to make everything smoother on the inside, I've taken sandpaper and sanded down that internal rail, as you might be able to see. So it just helps kind of everything run smoothly against each other. But I haven't had to do that in this RAS 47. So that's something that was really nice, again, for one in this price range, for it to run as smoothly as it does. And I'm sure the more I fire it, it'll run even smoother. So you'll notice on the bolt carrier that I failed to mention, it does have lightning cuts in it. So just another thing to be aware of if you're not a fan of those. I don't foresee any issues with these, but I know some people don't like it. And the bolt runs really smoothly in the bolt carrier, even as dirty as it is. So I've had really no issues with magazine fitment, with the exception of one magazine. And this is actually something I've been hearing from a couple different places, where some of the rivets will get in the way and keep a magazine from fully seating. I mean, my Circle 10 mags, my regular steel mags, my P mags, my Tapco mags, they all fit just fine. But what's happening, if you'll notice on this Yugo mag here on the right, I don't know how well you can see it, but the little shelf right behind the follower is a lot let me see if I can do this a little bit better, is a lot deeper, and what's happening is on the inside, the little shelf is running into that little crossbar right there that goes across right behind it. So it will not fully seat, and then also what you'll see on a lot of these mags is this little rivet piece right there, right under the little bullet guide. You might notice some burrs on it. That is actually from it rubbing against the magazines because it sticks a little too far out. So you'll notice on almost every single mag of mine that I've used in this, there's some more so than others, just from some mags I've used more, a little notch right there from, and this is a P mag, so it might be a little bit more difficult to see, but you'll see scratches on it on every single mag of mine that I put in it just because it rubs against there. For me, it hasn't had any issues with seating any magazines other than that Yugo mag, but I have read from some people that that is getting in the way of them seating their mags. So either you can sand it down, file it down, or whatever, but again, mine hasn't been enough of an issue to really justify going too crazy with it. So I might have to do it in the future if I run into any more issues with any other mags, but so far it's, like I said, just that one Yugo mag. So again, just something to be aware of. And then it goes back together just like any regular AK. So you get the bolt carrier in there, and then your recoil spring. Nice and tight in there. And then, oh, sorry about that. Then the dust cover, which I have trouble with on pretty much all my AKs anyway, getting it seated in there, especially with the camera sitting in front of me, makes it even more fun. So first try, with a little bit of effort, it went on there. So again, especially when you consider the price point of this rifle being around $6.25, as far as the internals go, you really can't ask for any more than what it has. So I was really happy when I opened it up the first time and took a look inside. So I'm very happy. So before I start rolling in targets for you guys, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my experience with this thing so far. I've had it for just over a week now, and in that time I've shot it, like I said, around 800 rounds. So getting close to 1,000, and I was super excited to get this thing. Ever since I heard about it back a few months ago, when I heard that there was going to be a stamped receiver AK coming out of Century that's 100% American made, I really knew that I had to have it. Big AK guy, so to have something made in America and a stamped receiver, I was super excited. So when I finally got it, the first time I took it out, I wanted to see if it would run dry. But in my excitement, getting everything ready to take it out, I forgot to bring lube with me just in case, obviously, it didn't want to function, which it did not. The first about 100 rounds I put through it, I pretty much had to force them through because it was running completely dry, and I could probably pull it off now, but when I first got it, all the surfaces were still kind of rough, hadn't really smoothed it out yet, so every time I would fire, it would seize up. Very rarely would it be able to fully cycle, and so I was having all kinds of issues with it, and was really disappointed in myself that I forgot to bring lube. So I had to cut my day short, and then the next day, well, that night, I cleaned it, lubed it, got everything good to go, so there'd be no excuse for it to not function the next day. So the next day I take it out and performed flawlessly. Shot around 300 rounds that second day, went perfectly well. The only issue I had was with one of my Tapco magazines. I had one failure to feed, but could be mag related, I don't know, but it was in only one of the Tapco mags, and that was the only issue I had the entire second day. The second day, when I was doing my accuracy shooting, as you'll see in my previous video, I had just the standard gas tube on there, so just shooting iron sights. I had okay groups, nothing to write home about, but I've always personally had an issue shooting accurately with standard AK iron sights, so that's why I threw on the Ultimac rail with that primary arms red dot, and that really significantly improved my accuracy. Still, I'm not the greatest shooter in the world, so take my targets with a grain of salt, but I had pretty good luck with it. I know that Century's making some pretty big claims as far as the accuracy of the barrel. I can go ahead and put a link to a video where they talk about how the black nitride coating should hold 1 MOA for about 12,000 rounds. So I'm sure if you have a better trigger finger than I do, then you might be able to pull that off. Me personally, I knew that even with all the odds in my favor, I probably wouldn't be able to pull off 1 MOA myself. But I'll go ahead and show you guys my targets, and then you can kind of make a judgment for yourself based off of those. So I'll go ahead and start rolling those in. So one thing I also want to mention is you'll notice when I'm rolling in footage that the bolt is sticking open on the last shot with these steel mags. And the reason that is I've retrofitted most of mine with these Weapon Tech mag bolt hold open followers. And you'll notice with this Yugo mag, which also holds the bolt open on the last shot, that the profile of those followers is almost identical. And what that does is, so on your last round when that pops up, that will stop your bolt from sliding forward. So these are really, really nice if you want to be alerted, like with an AR when your last shot is fired, to kind of aid in reload, so you're not doing it to the point where you're hearing a click. So I'll go ahead and kind of demonstrate that to you right now. Again, say it's the last shot, then the bolt will hold open right there. But one thing that makes it different from an AR mag, obviously, is that when you pull the magazine out, that follower is no longer in the way, so the bolt will slide home forward like that. So for me, it's just a nice little addition to have something like that. So I've got about 6 mags of that now, plus the Yugo mags that I have. So I just really like that nice little feature. They're really inexpensive compared to just buying straight Yugo mags, or I think even some Croatian mags have last shot hold open. But this is a really nice solution if any of you are looking for something like that. I would highly recommend these things. So I'm going to go ahead and start showing you guys the targets that I have from the last outing that I went shooting. This is just my 50-yard sight-in target. I got really bored, so I ended up shooting around 150 rounds at this thing because the range that I went to, they only let you change out the targets about every hour or so. So I just decided to keep plugging holes in this thing. All the stuff on the outside I know was me. It definitely was not gun related, just because, like I said, I'm not the greatest shooter in the world. But it was definitely satisfying to see a giant hole appearing in this paper, especially since I could tell some of the guys at the range were kind of talking down to the AK, saying, I don't know why this guy is trying to do accuracy testing with an AK. They can't shoot at all. So when I had a giant hole appearing in the middle of the target, it definitely helped silence the critics a little bit. So this is, I was very pleased to see a lot of consistency in where the shots were going, at least when I was doing my job. Again, the ones on the outside, was definitely due to me. And then just also FYI, most of what I was shooting was Tula Full Metal Jacket, and then I was also shooting some Wolf Hollow Point, which I'll mention as I bring those targets in. And then I also was doing a 100-yard zero in, and the accuracy gods must have been smiling down on me when I did this. But I will say one thing I had working in my favor was, you'll notice the center ring is 2 inches, and the primary arms micro dot that I was using has a 2 MOA dot. So what I was able to do is just pretty much, once I saw that the target was totally red, I knew I was aiming right down the middle. And I will admit, as much as I hate to, that most of the shots that are touching were not consecutive shots, but whatever I was doing it consistently, to the point where I had 2 shots touching at 100 yards dead center. And then I shot another one, and once I saw it was off, I decided to quit while I was ahead and be able to show this to you guys. So I was very happy to see something like this. Definitely happy to see something like this from an AK. Although as far as the full shot placement, all included, it's about 5 inches. But again, I know most of that is me, but I was just really happy to see 2 shots touching in the middle on a 100-yard target. So once I was finally able to swap out my targets, I set up a couple of my own. So these ones that I'm going to show you are from 50 yards, if I can get them free and handy. Everything on the 50-yard targets, the left-hand side was the Wolf Hollow Point, the right-hand side and the middle were the Tula Full Metal Jacket. So what I did is I just took a regular target, and then just to kind of help in my eyes, I put some of the little shoot and see pasties over it just to give me something a little easier to aim at. And what I did was 5-shot groups on all the outside targets, and then 3 shots in the middle. And again, I'm shooting, you know, kind of the military style ammo, just the steel case stuff. So definitely not competition ammo at all, but I was still pleasantly surprised with these groups, especially knowing my own capabilities. Now, if you look at kind of these closest ones here, that's, you know, right around that's, you know, right around an inch, just under 2 inches for the 4-shot group, and then about 2.5 if you bring all 5 shots together. Again, that's the Wolf Hollow Point. Down here, kind of same story. The closest 3 shots are about an inch apart, and then about 2 inches for 4, and then I had a flyer way out here to the right. Down here with the Full Metal Jacket, that's about a 2-inch group. Up here, again, the closest 3 shots are all about 1 inch apart, and then the whole thing as a total is about 3 inches. And again, this is at 50 yards. And then the center one here opened up a little bit to about 2.5 inches for that 3-shot group. Then on my second 50-yard target, kind of a similar result from a lot of these. Again, kind of sub 1 inch 3-shot group, and then about 2.5 for the whole 5 shots. Same thing down here, at least as far as the total size goes. Opened up a little bit on this one to about 3.5 inches total, and then down here again with the Full Metal Jacket, about 3 inches total, but this 4-shot group right around just under 2 inches, with those 3 being just 1 inch apart. Now again, I'm not the greatest shot, so a lot of the flyers are going to be attributed to me. It's not just ammo related. I know this gun is more accurate than I am. I'll be the first to admit that. So these that I'm going to start showing you are the 100-yard targets. Some of them were better than others, but again, I know for a fact that that's contributed to me. So this top right one, so on the 100-yard targets, I had the hollow points on the right, and then the Full Metal Jacket on the left side and on the middle. So I actually had a really decent group starting out, with the hollow points being right around 1 inch for the 3 shots, but then I had one way off on the right, which significantly opened it up. But for this 4-shot group at 100 yards from an AK, I was, you know, more than satisfied to see that at around like 2.5 MOA for 4 shots with a non-magnified optic. But the rest of them kind of opened up significantly, and then kind of the same story here on my second 100-yard target. It's almost hard to tell which targets, which holes correspond to which targets. So some of them better than others, but again, at this point, I know that the gun is more accurate than I am, so the lack of accuracy is pretty much all on me. But again, this is probably the best group that I had at the 100 yards, with that 3 shots all being 1 MOA. I'm sure if you have a magnified optic, or you're just flat out a better shot than I am, which isn't unlikely, you'll be able to see 1-2 inch groups out of this at 100 yards. But that's kind of what I was able to pull off with it. For me, that's more than fine. I mean, everyone always says that the AK is a minute-a-man gun, and that's definitely true in this case. So I think as far as the accuracy goes, again, especially, I keep bringing it up, but especially at this price range of right around 6 1/4, you can't really ask for too much more than that. So I was really satisfied with how that turned out. So I hope you got something out of watching this video. I would say that for this price range, especially being about 6 1/4, you can't go wrong with this rifle, especially if you compare it to some of the more expensive ones like Arsenal. In my opinion, there's no reason to pay twice as much for an AK when you get the quality and features that you get with this one. So if you're in the market for a new AK-47, I strongly recommend you take a look at this one. I mean, it works great, it's inexpensive, and it's 100% made in America. So if you take pride in that kind of a thing, I suggest you look no further than these new offerings from Century. But I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a good one. Thank you.